Hi, and welcome back to the Management and Leadership channel. I'm Kevin Booker, your host. Today, we're going to be talking about leadership bias. This is a follow-up deep dive to the short video I did earlier this week that talked about how important managing leadership bias is within the workplace. So let's get started. Leadership bias costs companies an estimated $450 to $550 billion annually. So it's definitely a very, very important topic. As we manage and lead within the workplace, it's imperative that we understand what our tendencies are towards our biases so that we can put mitigating factors in place to prevent us from making poor decisions, especially when it comes to organizational performance. The first one we're going to take a look at is availability bias. This is where leaders are more likely to interpret readily available information as being more important or as occurring more frequently. So this is a situation where leaders will take information that's readily available and then use that as a broad stroke to then say, this is the way it is all the time. So we have to be careful and make sure that we do thorough research before we make decisions. We can't just use information that's easily and readily available. Second thing is representative bias. This is when leaders have a tendency to pay more attention to people or situations that match a particular stereotype or an internal stereotype that they have. They tend to classify new information based on past experiences. So that's kind of self-explanatory. This is when, based on past experiences or learned experiences, we project that into the future. And then our decision making sometimes is a self-fulfilling prophecy and we repeat the same errors. The next bias is anchoring and adjustment bias. This happens a lot within the workplace, especially when a lot of money is involved in capital expenditures. But this is when we use a particular value or number as a starting point or anchor, and then we weigh this heavier than, say, new data, which causes us to delay adjustment. So this is when we start out a particular metric, so to speak, and we use a number, and then as things grow and evolve, we realize that number was, say, inaccurate. We never change it. We keep it that way because we're already invested in it. So we have to just make sure that we're willing to adjust whatever anchors that we have. We got to be open to that. Okay, item number 4. So this is confirmation bias. This is the most heavily plagued bias for leaders within the workplace. And this is a tendency to collect data that supports the leader's intuition only. Leaders must also seek out alternative positions that could disprove their intuition. So this is difficult because we have our own intuition, our own learned experiences, and we believe that, this is going to have a particular outcome based on our learned experiences. But it's important that we go and we play devil's advocate, so to speak, and we go and we look for information that could then contradict our position. It's a tough thing to do, which is why it's important to have people around you that could then do that for you to keep things accountable. The fifth bias is overconfidence bias. This is when a leader feels they possess some unique trait or ability that allows them to be a superhuman. They can defy the odds, and this is very, very risky. Leaders can get in trouble with this and make some very risky decisions. So it's important that we don't have overconfidence and that we have people around us that hold us accountable and keep us in check. The last bias is escalation of commitment. This is when leaders are likely to continue to invest additional resources and assets into a failing course of action, even though no payoff is evident. This is throwing good money at bad ideas. This happens a lot, especially if we're heavily invested a year or two into something. And, to save face, sometimes we continue investing. As a leader, we have to learn to cut our losses and admit when we're wrong and take a new course of action. Now let's talk about the 3 things we can do to help mitigate these 6 leadership biases. The first one is we can put confidence estimates in place. We can build formulas from data. Goal is to build quantitative measurable variables to estimate success or failure rates. The next one is calibration. This is where we have a comparison technique. We have a known good example or precedent, specification baseline, and quantitative analysis side by side. This is a great technique. And the third one is healthy skepticism. We need to be open to all sides and remain skeptical. We need to analyze, evaluate, research, seek wise counsel, and not jump to conclusions. I hope this video helped provide a little bit more explanation on what some of the leadership bias traps are so that you can help to negate these within your workplace. Thank you and happy managing.